Hello viewers, and thank you once again for tuning in onto our show today. My name is Chef Andy, and today I've got something interesting and something some of you may actually learn from. We're going to be bringing a nice beautiful French infusion to this very simple dish, and you're going to see that as we proceed. But before we begin, we'll begin by introducing the ingredients before us. From the very front, we've got some thyme. We've also got about a tablespoon of butter and about a tablespoon and a half of oyster sauce. You're also going to require some Dijon mustard, some dried oregano, and some salt. You're also going to require some teriyaki sauce and some cayenne pepper. You're also going to use about 200 grams of pork fillet, about 2 medium-sized carrots, 1/2 head of broccoli, and 1 green pepper. You're also going to require about half a cup of breadcrumbs, about half a cup of coconut milk, some stock to cook with, some pepper to crush, and some oil to aid you in frying everything together. So before we start off this very simple dish, we're going to allow you to grab your pens and papers if you're taking notes, and we'll see you after a very short break. Welcome back viewers. For those of you who are just tuning in, we've just finished introducing our ingredients. Now it's a very simple technique. We're going to begin the process by working with our pork. So very important thing to always have is some kitchen paper. Remember, it's not advisable to work with meat that's still drenching any liquid, so proceed to just move that onto your kitchen paper and just proceed to pat that dry. Always take your time to do so. Remember, it's also very simple to slide and cut yourself, especially when working with a wet board. So always try and make sure to have a very dry surface to work on, and of course always also try and make sure not to have any blood oozing from your meat when you're working with it. So very simply, we're going to begin by cleaning our fillet. So we're going to begin by removing some of this sinew, which is all that excess fat that is not required. All you're going to do is, using a sharp knife, proceed to begin to remove bits by bits. Always try and make sure to take your time to do so, to allow you to also not waste any of your meat. And as you proceed to continue the sinew, also make sure to also turn your piece of meat around, making sure to remove all the excess fat. Now, for those of you who may be wondering as well why we're using pork fillet for this, remember, pork is a very beautiful cut of meat, and especially for fillet, which is a more supreme cut of meat, is really tender, has a very beautiful flavor, and it actually looks very appetizing even when it gets to your plate. So just to finish off removing the sinew. Now, for those of you who may not understand why we are doing so, remember, this particular strips of fat that we're taking out do become quite chewy, especially when you forget to take them out at this stage. And remember, it's also very unpleasant to have those strips of fat right around your beautiful, expensive piece of filet. So this is basically just to aid in making sure that you don't have any particularly chewy bits of fat to your filet. Remember, it is considered it's rather supposed to be a very, very tender cut of pork. So just to finish off, and once done, we're going to proceed to cut that into about 2-inch chunks. And it's as simple as that. You can proceed to discard the rest. Now, very, very simply, you will now proceed to marinate your meat very briefly. And for that, you will require a small bowl. And of course, begin by adding your mustard. Remember, mustard does give it a nice, beautiful, tangy taste, and it actually also brings out the beautiful sweetness of pork. To that, proceed to also add your dried oregano. And using your spoon, proceed to mix very, very quickly. And at this stage, you can also proceed to heat up your pan, giving you just enough time to finish seasoning your marinade with a bit of some crushed black pepper and a small pinch of salt. Proceed to mix through once more, and of course always take some time to also try and bring everything to the center of your bowl. And all you're going to do at this stage is proceed to add your pork pieces into your mustard. Begin to toss, making sure to coat all your pieces nice and evenly. You can also add a bit of mustard if you realize that your bowl is quite dry, or rather your mixture is not enough. But always remember to also adjust your seasoning while doing so. Right, so we're just going to allow that to marinate just behind here for a very short while we allow our pan to proceed to heat. And while we do so, just going to grab another bowl, and we're going to quickly begin to just chop up our vegetables. So I'm going to chop the carrots into some 1/2-inch thick bâtonnets. Proceed to also clean your pepper. So very, very simply, hold your pepper against your board, having the stem end at the bottom, and proceed to slice the flesh very, very gently, making sure not to incorporate any of the seeds. And as you can see, that allows you to take your seeds out very, very easily. Now proceed to remove that white membrane on the inside. Remember, that does turn to be very, very bitter, especially if you don't discard it at this stage. So just proceed to do so for all your 4 pieces. You can discard the rest. And now for this, you can basically just cut them into some nice, almost triangular chunks. This will also give a nice, beautiful finish and presentation. And once that's done, proceed to also grab your broccoli, and once more, cutting farthest as you can from your stem, proceed to deflower your broccoli. Of course, always making sure to clean your broccoli thoroughly. That way you will actually avoid adding any particular unwanted bits into your dish. Proceed to discard any leaves as well that you may find inside your broccoli head. And now very, very quickly proceed to heat another pan on the side. and allow to come to the heat. While we allow that to do so, we'll bring our attention back to the first pan and proceed to add a bit of cooking oil. Now very quickly just clean your board, making sure to discard any of those small bits of broccoli. And now we are simply going to begin the process by cooking our pork first. So you can now grab your pork fillet, and also you may actually require a pair of tongs for this process. Proceed to swirl your pan around, making sure to coat the surface of your pan with oil. And onto your smoking pan, proceed to move your pork fillets, making sure to give some space between them to allow for even cooking. Just to finish off that last piece. And at this stage, you can also use your spoon to just scoop out any of that bit of mustard that's left over. And you can just drizzle that very generously over each piece. Now for this reason, I may also explain mustard does two very particular beautiful things. It actually flavors your pork really well, also allows it to be nice and tender. So this may actually be something you may want to jot down, especially for those of you who may be looking for different alternatives with mustard. Remember, it works very, very well with pork. Marinate it as simple as that and it will give you a very, very beautiful finish. Now to bring your attention back to the other pan, we're going to proceed to add some butter. Also, we're going to add a bit of our dried thyme. And now we're going to proceed to cook our carrots first. So you may want to just throw your carrots in to begin with. Remember, this particularly allows for them to soften really, really well. Allows you to get a nice even color and flavor right through with the thyme. And also gives it a nice beautiful break for the butter to really enrich it with a bit of flavor. To that we'll season with a little bit of our cayenne pepper. And just proceed to toss those in your pan, moving them around continuously. And you can allow those to continue cooking for about a minute to a minute and a half. Bringing your attention back to your pork fillet. So always remember, beginning, especially when you're cooking meat, always remember the pieces that went in first and proceed to turn them over in that same respect. Nice beautiful color over your pork mignonettes. Just toss those in your pan real quick. Dance them around your pan, allowing for you to combine and take advantage of all the excess oil on the sides. And once more proceed to separate them. And lower your temperature completely, allowing for them to cook through thoroughly. And while you do so, you can bring your attention back to your carrots. Now they've got a nice beautiful color. You can actually get that beautiful sweetness coming through. Once you achieve that, proceed to add your broccoli and your green pepper. And proceed to toss once more. Now, very important to also have a bit of stock always ready. Remember, this actually allows for you to deglaze your pan nice and easy. So very simply, just tilt your pan and pour from the top. And just by allowing your vegetables to slide over to one side of the pan, actually allows for you to also just allow the ingredients to just wash off to the bottom and just very simply begin to toss those. Now you can allow that to continue to cook, but very importantly proceed to add your soy sauce with your teriyaki mix and of course your oyster sauce. Now proceed to just toss those in a pan, allowing that to continue to cook at very, very low heat, giving you some time to come back to your pork fillets. Of course, always take time to make sure to turn your meat continuously. Remember, this allows for even cooking. Also, always just take advantage of your pan by tilting it sideways. There is quite a bit of heat to the sides of your pan, so you can actually turn your pieces of pork fillet sideways and allow that excess heat from the sides of the pan to really permeate. And once your pan is completely dry, proceed to also add a small amount of stock. Remember, this will allow for you to get a nice even finish to your pork. The steam also allows for you to really rush the process of cooking. Also allows for you to really get a beautiful constitution of that mustard. So we're just going to add about 1/4 cup of stock once more. Proceed to toss those in your pan. By this stage, they should actually be about 4 or 5 minutes away from being completely cooked. Toss those in that bit of liquid in your pan, making sure to get a nice even coating. And at this stage, you can now proceed to add your cream. Now you can allow that to continue cooking very, very slowly under some low heat, giving you just enough time to get the balance of flavor and a nice consistency to your sauce. And at this stage, we'll also toss our vegetables very, very quickly. And as you can be able to see from the lenses there, nice beautiful coat, a nice beautiful shine to your vegetables. And you can proceed to allow that to sit at very, very low heat. You can actually also add a little bit of stock. Remember, stock will always aid you in combining your flavors. It also brings in a nice, beautiful, nutritious benefit. And one thing also to mention, it does also make the difference, especially when you work with stock as opposed to working with water. So if you can actually get some time to make some stock, definitely take some time to do so. It always makes a difference and it always brings a nice, beautiful, nutritious finish to your dish. Now for this particular stage, we're going to allow that to continue cooking. Our pork is almost done, so I'm also going to proceed to turn that down completely. And we're going to take a short break, allowing for me to clean my work table. And when we do come back, I'll show you the nice, simple finish to this very, very simple dish, and also give you some very, very simple pointers on how to alternate some of the dishes or ingredients that we've used in this particular segment. So don't touch that dial, we'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who are just tuning in, we've just been finishing off our beautiful pork mignonettes, and we've also finished our veg. Now just to finish this off, I'm going to add a bit of breadcrumbs to a pan. For this, I'm actually just going to toast it a little bit, and I'm just going to drizzle that over the whole dish. So just on a hot pan, proceed to heat your breadcrumbs, of course making sure to toss your pan, avoiding any chances of overcoloring or actually burning your crumbs. And once your crumbs are nice and light, proceed to remove from the heat and just begin to start plating. So very simply, we're going to start plating our vegetables first. Just give that a nice quick mix. Get those colors back and get that nice beautiful gloss. And proceed to add those onto your plate. Of course, always tucking them with a bit of height always gives a nice beautiful finish on your plate. Now just proceed to top with a bit of the carrots. Right, once that's done, we're going to proceed to plate our pork fillet. Always beginning by placing one piece at a time, and always try and develop a pattern. One particular pattern I like to use is by placing them almost over each other as I look for a bit of circumference on the plate. Once that's done, very simply, just use your spoon to give that beautiful sauce a bit of a mix. Remember, very important to mix this to make sure that it doesn't split on your plate. And just proceed to pour that right over your pork, making sure to go over each piece, and that should aid in avoiding your meat from drying out too quickly before you serve. And just once more right over the whole mixture. And very a nice little simple trick I like to use, particularly with breadcrumbs. Remember, it gives it a nice beautiful crunch. Just going to sprinkle my breadcrumbs right over the vegetables. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my simple take on pork fillet mignonettes with some grilled vegetables. I hope you've managed to learn something new today, and I hope you're actually going to look into a bit of more cuts to your meat. As I mentioned, filet is a very good tender piece. It may cost a little bit more than many other of your cuts, but remember, this being a prime cut, you may actually want to really research on a very good recipe before purchasing yourself some of that beautiful pork. But for now, and until the next episode, I will bid you farewell, reminding you that if you have any questions, comments, or any inquiries pertaining the show, you can drop your messages on our Facebook page, and we'll be more than happy to get back to you. But until the next episode, I'll bid you farewell and see you soon.